So I got a live cam of my backyard. I put in here. Can you see it? It should have switched over.
No.
Oh, well, anyway, no, it's on the live stream.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I have one of the new cameras I have is. Well, we're live, and we're going to be live now, so we'll talk about
Okay.
that specifically then.
Sure.
Hey everyone, Richard Taylor here, Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live, and over here we have Marty Jenoff from Focal Point Productions, who's got all kind of things to talk about today. He's a Final Cut Pro editor, right?
Yep. Final Cut 10 for a couple years now.
Yeah, and the comments are working now. So yeah, so it's just I guess they weren't working before, but they're working now. So we got a couple comments. Hey guys, and morning all. We get people from all over the world: Japan, South Africa, England, Germany, whatever. Portugal.
Well,
here's one from Portugal.
Oh, that's great. And what's funny is, Richard and I, we're in the same town. We live, we're pretty close to each other. So it's
Right.
great that we're close. But yeah, we have people watching us now from all over the place. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So you used to live in Baltimore County. Now you live, and there's one from France. There's one from France.
Oh, great.
Now you live in the same county that I do, which is Carroll County in Maryland.
Yeah, and we're really almost at opposite ends of the street, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I could walk over there in about 20 minutes with equipment. So Marty, let me just give you a brief introduction to Marty. First off, he's one of the first people that I know that was doing live streaming years ago. I started 3 years ago. How many years ago did you start live streaming, Marty?
I started live streaming in 2011, give or take.
So, okay, there you go. So nine years.
Yeah, 9 years.
And nothing's changed since then, right? Everything's exactly
It's the same. Nothing has changed. Same camera, same cable, same. Yeah, everything is pretty static.
Everything is blown up. When I talked to you, I was doing a podcast during the pandemic and stuff, and I was interviewing local personalities, of course you're one, about what was happening in their lives during that time. And at that point, you said you had a lot of business, and then it fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at you recently, and just blown up again.
Yeah. Last year was my best year ever by far. And this year, January and February, started off the same way. Was going to be really busy, had a lot of jobs, a lot of projects. And then once COVID-19 hit in early March, literally overnight, everything just started to cancel. And there was a ton of cancellations for video projects, because in addition to doing live streaming, I do traditional videos as well. But then I started getting a ton of inquiries about people asking about live streaming. How can I do it? We have this event, we want to live stream it. But then really overnight, even all those inquiries went away because everything really got shut down. You couldn't have gatherings more than 10 people, 6 feet apart. So all those events kind of went dark, but then started having some clients that still needed to do content, that still wanted to do some live streaming and some videos. And because of the clients of who they were and what was happening, we were able to do them. But now we're finding that we're getting so many more inquiries. So many people now are looking to live streaming as later in the month, June, the fall. People want to kind of get back up and running again and want to turn their real events into now virtual events.
Right. So I feel so sorry for people that had, weddings planned during this time. Because, you plan those a year in advance at least, right?
Yeah, I've talked to people about their weddings, their bar mitzvahs, last minute funerals. People wanting to live stream those events. And I really feel for all those people in unique and different ways, because those are, the major life cycle events that you want to be with your family.
Right.
And you can't. So instead, they're turning to, their phones and Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Zoom and WebEx and GoToMeeting and Blue Jeans and all these other platforms out there, and FaceTime. I mean, that's now what people are using to stay in touch.
So the FaceTime, that can do like 30 people now?
I know it can do a lot. I don't know what that number is.
I thought it was like 30.
I really only think of that, and I really have only used it myself personally for doing like one-to-one, calling mom, the kids calling the grandparents kind of thing. I really haven't used it for more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And then all the other ones, and now you can do group things in Facebook Messenger. That's the latest one.
Is that out now? Can you? I know they announced that a few weeks ago, but is that?
Yeah,
can you do that
haven't figured out how to do it. I've just seen the announcement and I've seen the pictures. But they say from Facebook Messenger, now you can have these 30 group chats or whatever. Now, here's the thing, to be honest with you. When I see one of these chats and they got 16 windows up on the screen, that's too much for me. I like this. One or two people, maybe up to 4, because 16 people trying to talk and make conversation, it's too much for me. I can't see where I can get anybody, especially if it's...
So I think there's use cases. If you're having a company meeting, then you need something like that. But if you're going to do any kind of live show, a live broadcast, having that many people is overwhelming. I mean, right now, I'm talking over you, you're talking over me, there's a second delay.
Right.
Add, any more than 3 people to the mix. Oh, no, you go. No, you go.
Right.
I go. I'm sorry, you go. And it's a mess. You're going to kill so much time. And
if you have like 12 people, you would everybody might be talking about different subjects. Now, we're just going to talk about Final Cut Pro. We're going to talk about live streaming. We're going to talk about, those two things mainly. So we're going to kind of stick to specific subjects. Yeah. And I can't wait to get started on that. Well, there you go. But having large meetings, and we've run into that with doing large events and having a couple hundred people tune in and watch. This is Facebook and YouTube are great because no one else can jump in and have an open mic or have their camera pop up. But when using platforms like Zoom or WebEx, if you're not careful with how you set up those meetings, you could have people turn their mics on and you hear background chatter or have their camera pop up. Right. And that just disrupts the whole flow. We were doing a live stream with 1,000 people on WebEx. And, it wasn't set up right. And people's microphones were turning on and their cameras were turning on. And we spent so much time putting out these little fires of trying to tech and troubleshoot and fix stuff that the content got lost. Right. So like I said, I started about 3 years ago. It was at the Creative Summit, Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. And of course, at that time, I just used my phone with good audio, though. Right. Always audio is utmost important. And I always had either a lapel microphone or I had a boom that was close to me, whatever. And so I just started back in those days on Facebook Live, probably for the first year or so. And then I went to NAB and I streamed some sessions from there. But when these events happened, Final Cut Pro events specific, which is what I'm interested in, I was always, if I wasn't there, which a lot of times it wasn't because it was a West Coast, I was always like, well, what's happening now? So when I started going to these events, I said, I'm going to start streaming these events so people that aren't here can at least get a sense of what's going on, and I did a lot of live streams from there, but it was Facebook, YouTube combination. Now, a year ago, I started using Restream.io, so I can restream to both Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, which is what I'm doing now. But you have, well, first off, let's talk about the Black Magic thing. Let me pull that up here. I'm going to pull it up on screen. You can't see it, but everybody else will be able to. Okay. So here's on the Black Magic Facebook page, you have a feature there. It just came out this last week, right? Yeah, Monday. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So let me just turn those titles off. Turn those two off. And so that's a pretty big deal. I mean, they obviously got a hold of you because you use all the Blackmagic equipment. So the A10 Mini and then now the A10 Mini Pro plus a bunch of other things. Now, how did they contact you for that?
So throughout the course of not just COVID-19, but whenever I go out on shoots, I'm always posting on social media, trying to be very active on LinkedIn and Facebook, showing behind the scenes at shoots, at any time, but to get business and get the word out there. And I was doing that even during the COVID-19. We were working a lot with the local hospital here in Baltimore, GBMC healthcare system. We're doing a lot of live streams for them. And I was taking photos of all of the gear, and I was tagging Blackmagic, Teradek, Atomos, Canon. I was tagging everyone. And I guess I did that enough that Blackmagic saw that. I got an email from them one day and had a couple conversations with them, did an interview, and told them about my experiences, about all the gear that I have. I have several pieces of their hardware and how I use that on a daily, not daily, but how I use that on almost all of my jobs, and how it helps me do these great productions, and especially during COVID-19, how that's playing an important part since we can't be together. And people, now more than ever, people want the information. Now more than ever, people want to be informed about what they can do, what they can't do, what's changing. So we were using this for a lot of our most recent live streams, and that's kind of how Blackmagic heard about me.
So we got a comment, I think from somebody you probably know, Jennifer Hickey Myers.
Yes, they are one of our neighbors. They live in Sykesville. So hey, Jen.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for
Okay.
watching.
She says, "Yay, Marty, you've been ready for this pandemic for years, doing things virtually."
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. You had a little bit of a downturn like everybody did, and then you're right back up. So do you have all of your people that have worked with you prior? Because you look pretty sparse right now when you're doing these things, like you're by yourself a lot.
Yeah. So technically, Focal Point Productions is just myself. I have a team of about 10 friends, 10 freelancers that I use on a per job basis. So obviously, because of what's happening now, we've scaled down. Our largest job that we've done was 15 people. Well, we can't have 15 people at a job now.
Right, exactly.
So most of the ones that we're doing now are probably a total of 2 to 3 or 4 crew members, and that's tops. And that was only yesterday. But most of the ones that we do, it's just me and 1, maybe 2 other people.
So that's pretty darn cool. Being local, is there anybody, I'm trying to think, is there anybody bigger than you for live streaming in Baltimore? I know the networks, obviously, but independent.
Yeah, so there are other live streamers out there. And what we're finding is that, like we mentioned, I have 9 years experience. I've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
We're finding that now a lot of people are trying to jump on the bandwagon, and they're trying to just do it.
Yes.
And if you look now, a lot of the gear that we use, you can't get now. You can't get web cameras. You can't get most of the switchers or live streaming encoders. Yep. You can't get that stuff. Or if you can get it, you're going to pay double or triple the cost.
Now I'm using the Camlink 4K, but a couple years ago, about a year ago, I bought this other one, a Pengo, to try it out, and it works fine. This one has audio. This has a HDMI in and out, and it has audio in and out. The problem that I found with this Pengo, and I don't know if they fixed it or not, is the audio has a very steep bass roll-off. So perhaps good for some vocals, but I couldn't EQ things properly through this thing. I hooked up the other one, the Camlink 4K, and it doesn't have that roll-off. That's when I was checking through the HDMI. My audio is not going through the HDMI right now. It's going through two separate audio interfaces. I have a Neumann TLM 103 microphone, studio mic here, an Apollo Twin X that has real-time tube and simulation plugins that I'm using, EQ and compression. And then that's being fed into a Scarlett USB 2 interface. And the reason I do that is because I can blend your volume and my volume with this. I have a blend switch. It has a blend switch on it. Other than that, I can't. Other interfaces that I have, I couldn't do that. So that's why I do it that way.
And it's great that you have all that stuff now, because if you wanted to go get it now, you probably wouldn't be able to get it. I'm right now. I mean, for what we're doing, I'm using the Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro.
That thing looks fantastic. I mean,
it's great.
Yeah.
So this is the Pro. I had the original one that came out just a few months ago.
Right.
I used it 3 times. The original one was $300.
Wait a minute. The Mini's only you only got it for 3 months? And then
I had it for about 3 months. Yeah, I got it like in February or March.
Okay.
I used it 2-3 times, and then the Pro came out. I got the Pro. Just last week, I put the Mini on eBay to sell it. New is $300.
Right.
I sold it for $610.
Right.
I went for more than double because you can't get them. You have to wait weeks or months to get them. So, I mean, that's just one example of just one piece of hardware that, people are buying up as quickly as Blackmagic can make them.
Yep.
They're being sold.
Now, see, my setup is I use my main camera, which is GH4 HDMI in, and I have the the Sigma 1835 art lens, so I can blur the background when I want to. If I have a real background, I can actually blur it optically, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, I have the outside shot that I have here. Jeff Orthwine came on, so you should call it the rear window, like the Hitchcock movie. I said, that's a good point. I like that. So so I have that camera. That is a Mevo, just came out, a Mevo Start, which is it's a 1080p streaming cam. It's a streaming cam all built in. Everything's all built in. So I can stream from my back window to here wirelessly on the Wi-Fi. So I started using that camera as a second camera. Other than that, I use iPhones because I shoot a lot with iPhones.
And how are you, that's for shooting or for live streaming?
Both.
So how do you get your iPhones into your production? So
if I'm doing something sophisticated, like if I was doing a live band shoot, I would use, what do I have? A Sling Studio.
Okay.
The Sling Studio has an app for your iPhone that connects it to the hub wirelessly. And it goes way back to iPhones. It goes back, 3 or 4 generations. So you download the free app on your iPhone, and the Sling Studio will pick it up as a source. Nice. So, but that's more if I need more than just 2 or 3. If I'm doing a band shoot and I'm doing cameras. Plus, it has a wireless HDMI. You can hook up to any camera with HDMI. It'll connect wirelessly. Plus, it has a direct HDMI, which I would use the main camera for. But that's more sophisticated, and it has audio input. You got to have audio input.
Yeah, that's a big thing. You don't have audio out of sync. You don't want to have bad audio. Audio is 50% of the image. So don't just think about having a nice camera. You need clean audio as well.
So speaking of that comment, audio certainly is 50% of the image, at least. I don't know why the iPhone camera app doesn't have audio meters or audio control. It doesn't even have audio meters, the one for the iPhone, the video camera. And all the other ones have it. Filmic Pro has the audio meters and has audio control and stuff. But I love the actual camera app because I can switch the lenses on this. This is my Pro Max, 11 Pro Max. You can switch. It has 3 lenses in the back. It has a regular lens, a 2 times telephoto, then an ultra wide. You can switch them while you're filming live.
But they feel that the audio meters is because most people won't use that. Probably only 2% of the public out there would need audio meters. And it would just kind of messy and junk things up. If you need it, then you spend a couple bucks and get Filmic Pro or another app that has it. But, I never even thought about audio meters on the iPhone. I've used something like the Rode Smart Lav mic, or they have an XLR adapter so you can plug in a hand mic into your iPhone.
I've
used those before, but I never thought you can't monitor the audio levels. And Unless you have,
Right.
AirPods or adapter or dongle, you can't plug headphones in to monitor it.
Right.
So,
No, you're
that's
absolutely
a good idea.
correct. I use an auxiliary mic almost all the time when I use the phones, but I use the native camera app if I'm recording a lot because I can switch the lenses live.
That's
No
cool.
other app can do that yet. Every other app, you have to stop the recording, switch the lens, start the recording. With the iPhone native app, I can actually just click one of 3 lenses and it'll zoom in or zoom out live while I'm recording. And I really use that a lot, so I really like that. But I've been using the Double Take app by Filmic Pro now, which records 2 lenses at once, 2 out of the 4. So I can record me as a selfie, and I can also record the front camera. I can choose any 2 and record, and it records both of them 1080p. So I've been using that. It depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm old school. I still have the iPhone 8. I haven't upgraded yet, but it's showing its age. So I think whenever the next cycle is, I need to upgrade.
Well, they had the leak. What's that guy's name? Prosser on Twitter. He's been leaking pretty accurate stuff. He's got like 100,000 followers, and he said he had all kind of specs for the iPhone 12. But here's the thing: I only upgrade for the camera, for the video camera.
Yeah.
Before this, I had an iPhone 6S Plus. That's how long, 5 iterations, because that was the first one that had 4K. So I bought it because it had 4K. Had it ever since. When this one came out, I said, okay, now it's time to switch. You got 3 lenses, you got optical zoom, a bunch of things, better sensors, lower light sensors and stuff. Speaking of that, today I have, because I use this phone, well, because when I recorded you for the podcast, I used this phone.
Yeah.
I went out and got a anamorphic lens for this thing. I'm going to try it.
For your iPhone?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow,
I'll
pretty
shoot.
cool.
Yeah, I'm shooting 4K. It takes a special case. The lens clicks on over top of the lens, the moment lens, and it shoots optically, which means anamorphically, because it'll squeeze the 4K image down so it's wider than 16 by 9, whatever the ratio is. And then you de-squeeze it with an app on the phone, or you can also de-squeeze it in post, of course, in Final Cut or whatever else you use. So people are pretty excited about this one. Let me get one more comment here. Yeah. Tyler Chef says, I've been using my phone as a webcam that shoots 1080p, but you can't change the frames per second if that matters. I stream it through OBS with audio, however, it does work wirelessly. So I guess I'm shooting 30. I think that's what I'm doing. Yeah, with this. I think I'm shooting 30.
Okay.
With Ecamm Live. So I have my GH4 set up for 30 frames per second, Ecamm Live shooting 30 frames per second at 1080p.
I'm curious for Tyler. I'm curious how you're getting it into OBS. Are you using NDI? Or how are you getting into OBS? I assume it's NDI.
Yeah,
but,
if it's wireless, yeah. If it's wireless. So somebody, during the pandemic, people have made their stuff available for free. And somebody put out a really, really good NDI wireless iPhone camera app.
I think NewTek did. So NewTek makes the TriCaster. They made NDI.
Okay.
They did have a paid version. They upgraded it but made it free. And what that allows you to do is if you're using TriCaster, if you're using OBS, vMix, Wirecast, any of those live streaming platforms, use NDI, and that allows you to get your phone, a computer, other devices into your system, either wired or wirelessly. So with that iPhone app, you can use your phone as a camera into one of those platforms pretty easily and for cheap.
Yeah, because I've been buying the apps all along. I got Ecamm Live a year ago. Let me think, over a year ago, about a year ago, January. And I've been using my GH4 connected direct. And then you can connect the phones if you have the lightning cable connected. You can use it as a source, but it'll show you what's ever on the screen. So you have to get a clean feed to show it. You can't just use, some things have their, different things on the screen that'll show that. And then the NDI thing started coming on. I bought a couple of the apps. It didn't work too good. But this new one, if it's NewTek, it works much better. Much better. Because it also works with Ecamm.
I haven't used it all that much, but I know in a pinch it's great if you want to get, for when we can do concerts or events again.
Right.
To have someone with their phone getting that point of view. You can get an iPhone in a lot more places than you can get a traditional camera.
Yes. So we got a comment from Spencer Lewis. Hello from Philadelphia. As always, great information. So, no, absolutely. One of the things that I did, which I knew going in advance when I worked at the National Archives in D.C., you can't take cameras a lot of places, especially big video cameras. You just can't do it. You just can't. But you take your iPhone out, and they think you're taking a picture. They think you're not, but I'm recording 4K video with audio on it a lot of times. So you're absolutely correct. A lot of times they'll bug you about taking a camera out, but if iPhone, everybody has them. What are you going to do?
Right, and they make gimbals. They make handheld small gimbals you can get for your phone. So if you have a gimbal and your phone and you're using NDI and doing a live stream, you can get some pretty cool angles. I don't know if I trust 100% on Wi-Fi and NDI and all that working if you're in a large event or if it's mission critical. Whenever it's mission critical, we don't want to rely on wireless.
Right.
But, if you have that flexibility, it's a tremendous option.
No, it absolutely is. And I like this, for me, because I'm very portable, the smaller the better. I love the GH4, and I got the GH5, and I love that as well. It's a very small, compact camera that records great. You can have great audio because I got the XLR adapter for the GH5 that connects via the hot shoe. It doesn't have the 1/8 inch jack, which is the secondary way you can connect. This connects electronically into the camera itself, so I have that. So I use that, and it's very compact. You can change lenses and stuff. But I've been shooting with the iPhone more than anything, with 11 Pro. It's so easy. It's so easy. And I have a gimbal. I have the Osmo Mobile 3, which is really cool gimbal that works really well when I need that. I take it out when I go for my walks, and I film some stuff, and I'll put together a clip of the walks. And it's because you have it with you all the time, and it's such high quality compared to what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, the best phone is the one you have with you.
That's right.
And you always have your phone, but right now I'm using a Canon C200 for this camera. I don't carry that with me every day, and my other cameras too. But I always have my phone, and that's the best camera is the one you have in your back pocket.
Yes, the challenge with the phones, once again, is getting good audio into them.
Yes,
that's a challenge. Yeah. I get good audio into my phones. I use the same microphones that I use with my GH4 and GH5, getting into them in my phone. And I'm actually I've seen so many people frustrated with that, and I understand because audio has always been a problem. When I teach Final Cut Pro classes, first thing I say, audio is 50% of good video. What do? They go out and film, and they come back, students, and they say, oh, can we fix this audio? This cable was crackling the whole time. I said, you didn't monitor with headphones? No, you can't. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. I told you from the beginning, audio is at least 50% of good video. So always pay attention to the audio. So, but there's absolutely multiple ways to get good audio into these phones. But you have to get, a better than normal microphone, and you got to get an interface. I have three different interfaces to get it in. One of them, all three of them are via the Lightning port. I have 3 different connectors, and I'm going to do tutorials about that, how to get it good audio, because that's the biggest challenge nowadays, because these sensors are much better. The lenses are pretty darn good. Like I said, I'm getting an anamorphic that I'll be shooting with. I've never shot with one. And also I can get the moment system. I can also get, it's a quarter turn to put the lens on and off the case. You slick it on there, it's like a quarter click, and it stays on. Some of the other ones you got to keep screwing them on, and they such fine threads, if you're not paying attention, you'll cross-thread it.
Yeah, or I'd be afraid not putting it on and it just falling off.
It is falling off.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of that too.
Yeah. So one of the things, I'm going to try this anamorphic lens. Then I'm going to try, they have a 2x optical lens that can go over top of the existing 2x optical lens, and it'll be a 4x optical zoom. So that's something else I'm going to try once I get used to the anamorphic and shoot with it a bit.
Gotcha.
So did you hear, I think I told you that Logic Pro updated to 10.5 yesterday. That caught me off guard. I've been looking for Final Cut Pro update, and all of a sudden Logic was on the Apple main press page Did you?
Yeah, I saw the post. No, I mean, I don't use Logic Pro. I saw all the posts and chatter about the update coming out and people, wondering would Final Cut be next. I mean,
Right.
you know better than me. When was Final Cut's last update?
5 months ago. 5
Okay,
months ago.
so I mean, hopefully the next one will be around the corner.
But let me tell you, I'll tell you a few more statistics. My audience knows this. Final Cut Pro 10.4 is 29 months old.
Okay.
29 months ago, for 10.4 came out. The last October, they had the Metal 2 update, which some people say, well, that's a big update, but that's not really it is an update, but it's not really the kind of feature update we're expecting. The last big feature update was 10.4.4, which was 18 months ago in October, 19 months ago.
Wow.
So it's been a lot of time. So, and the other thing is when Logic and Final Cut Pro for the last couple years have been neck and neck. They're always, when one updates, the other one updates. When one updates to 10.4.7, the other one updates to 10.4.7. One updates to 10.4.8, the other one updates to 10.4.8. When they go the full number, the other one does the same thing. That's why people are, and myself included, are expecting Final Cut Pro 10.5 to be available shortly, anytime. Could happen right now.
Go check the website. I'm always afraid. I think everyone, we always recommend don't do an update while you're in the middle of a project.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm assuming and thinking that maybe people are slower now. Maybe don't have that many open projects. So this could be a good time to do an update if your workload is slower and you finish up those jobs and don't have anything going on right now. This could be a good time to do that update and work out the kinks before business picks back up again and you're busy editing.
Well, the other thing was Tim Cook mentioned Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro on his earnings call. On the stock earnings call, he mentioned both of them. He said he was seeing a lot of uptick in use from both of those applications during the pandemic. And then he said, so much so that we made it free for 90 days. Both of them are free for 90 days. Anybody can try them out for 90 days. The interesting thing is that the trial was, both of them were at 10.4.8. The trial, 90-day trial was 10.4.8. Well, Logic updated the trial to 10.5 yesterday or today. So when Final Cut Pro 10.5 comes out, you're going to be able to try out the latest and greatest version of it. The other thing
is it.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was going to say what's great about it is, the software is only $300. Final Cut is only $300.
That's true.
I bought that 6, 7, 8 years, whenever. I've had it for more than 5 years. I've never paid an update. I've never paid a monthly fee. I paid $300 for a piece of software that I've made thousands off of.
Exactly.
So I think that's amazing that Apple doesn't charge a license fee. They don't charge a monthly fee, a user fee, whatever. $300 7, 8 years ago, and that's it.
So what did you use? You said you used Final Cut for the last 3 years or so. What did you switch from?
No, how long has 10 been out for?
It'll be 9 years old on June the 21st.
Okay, so yeah, so 2010 is when I got my first Mac.
Okay.
Got a Mac Pro, and I started on Final Cut 7, and I was like, I am really getting good at Final Cut 7. I'm good. I got it. Whatever. 6 months, 7 months, and then they came out with 10, and everything changed. So I waited a little bit before I tried it. I tried it once. I didn't like it in the very beginning.
Sure.
Stayed with 7, and then a few months later, so probably 2011, 12-ish, I jumped over to 10, leaving 7 on my system. I never went back. I never opened up 7 again. I haven't opened it up since then. I've been using Final Cut 10 for probably, I'd say, 8 years now.
Okay, so 8 years. So so you came from Final Cut Classic and then went to Final Cut 10. So,
and I love it. My workflow has, my productivity has skyrocketed since I made the change. I'm able to get jobs done so much faster, so much easier. I really love the program. I work part-time for a TV station, and there I use Premiere.
Right.
And maybe it's either our computers or just the environment or whatever it is, but I do not like using Premiere. I use it every week. I'm not a fan of it. I can work so much faster in 10. If I was able to use Final Cut Pro 10 at the TV station, I know that I'd be able to get my work done so much faster.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe 10.5 is going to convince more people to use TV stations. There's a TV station overseas that has hundreds and hundreds of hours of TV that they do. They do like live streaming and not live streaming, but they do, what do they call that stuff that's like live, like the Kardashians and stuff? What do they call that? Live?
Like reality TV?
Reality TV, that's what it is. They
Yeah.
do a lot of reality TV, and they use Final Cut exclusively. So it certainly can be done. We've seen Final Cut used on major films. People say,
I know that there are TV stations that do use it.
Right.
But our station, Premiere is built into the whole backbone, and right from Premiere we can attach it to our rundowns, which goes right to the control room.
Sure.
So, in that sense, I get it because the workflow
I do too.
just works and it's seamless. But for the actual editors doing the day-to-day editing, I think that there's a better option.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to just check just in case it's updated while we're on here.
Yeah, you never know.
Bill, I check a couple times a day just for the heck of it. So I check on the app. So let me just check here real quick. It's probably not. Nope, still 10.4.8.
Okay.
But people are expecting, in this before this Logic 10.5 came out, I wasn't sure if they were going to do 10.4.9, but I just can't imagine Logic being at 10.5 and Final Cut Pro being at 10.4.9. I guess that's possible, but it seems like Final Cut Pro is Apple's star Pro app. That's the crown jewel of their Pro apps. And I just can't see them releasing, since they released Logic 10.5, leaving Final Cut at 10.4.9. I mean, it's technically possible, but I just don't see it. It would be bad.
I mean, and hopefully they'll give Logic a couple days, a week, for that update, all the downloads. There's always people calling in for tech support or whatever. Give Logic its time to shine. And then maybe next week around the same time, hopefully Final Cut will get its time to shine and get an update itself.
Well, here's why I'm still thinking it'll come out this week. NAB has an online presence, so the actual conference was canceled. I was scheduled to go there. I had a hotel, I had a plane, but of course that got canceled. So they have what they call an NAB Express. Starts today, where they're going to have all the vendors do presentations online and things, and then there's also a training track for people that want to learn Premiere, After Effects, probably Avid and things. And that's put on by Future Media Conferences. Now, the interesting thing is there's an Apple ecosystem track this year, and it's free. The other ones cost $299. The Apple ecosystem track, which is Final Cut Pro, I don't know if it's probably a little motion in there. And then it's iPhones using LumaFusion and stuff, mobile journalism, but it's all Apple-based. That whole track is free. That doesn't start till Sunday. So I'm thinking that Apple is the one that made it free. I'm thinking that they said, okay, we'll pay, instead of you charging for our track, we'll give you the money that you would make instead. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know that for a fact. And if they're doing that, wouldn't you want people to be using the latest, greatest version of Final Cut Pro, which is going to be 10.5? That's what I'm thinking, that it might come out, since it's later today, it's probably not today, but maybe Thursday or Friday, and then the presenters could show the latest version. It might not happen. It might be next week when it comes out, but it's certainly going to be coming out. Now, WWDC is on June the 22nd. Final Cut Pro's 9th birthday is June the 21st. That's when it was actually released in the wild.
Yeah, well, my bet would be, you're right. I feel like with the timing, it's either going to be this week or in a month when their anniversary comes out. But I'd say definitely within the next 5 weeks, it's probably going to be its time. Yeah,
and everybody's, the Final Cut community is all excited about whatever. I really don't know what they're working on. I know, in my opinion, that it needs better audio It doesn't have a mixing board at this point. Better audio controls. At some point, we're going to see better audio controls. I mean, right now you got to jump in and out of compound clips, and I really don't like that. And I'll tell you why I don't like it. I'd like to see the compound clip open up in the existing timeline, because when you open a compound clip, it goes to its own timeline that has no visual relationship to the main timeline.
Yeah.
You're shooting blind. If you're adjusting something, you can't line it up in the main timeline. So I'd like to see compound clips open up in the main timeline. Just drop down, disclosure triangle or whatever, right click and expand compound clip. It does it right there. And the other thing is with audio, it's the same thing. Audio rolls are very, very handy, but I don't want to jump in and out of compound clips to apply an effect to everything, to adjust an audio clip,
Yeah, it's hard to say. I really don't know what I would wish for in the next, version. One thing definitely would be the skimming timeline. So for the playhead and the timeline to update as you're going through.
Scrolling timeline,
yeah. But otherwise, I mean, I'm really happy. I just now recently I've been using the captioning feature. I used to use another plugin to do captioning, but now that that's built in, I've been using that a ton for some recent projects that I've been doing that have required closed and open captioning. I use rev.com to do my captioning.
Okay.
And I usually get it back within a couple of hours. I can dump it in, export it out, and it's pretty seamless. So that's one of I forget when that update came out, but I've been using that a ton lately.
Well, there's also some extensions you can use directly in Final Cut now, right? Simon Says is one for captioning that you can use their service, and it actually stays in Final Cut. You don't have to export stuff in and out, XML, whatever. Actually, you can do it right in Final Cut. They're called extensions. They're called extensions now. There's a couple of them.
Okay.
So just in case,
tried that.
You can probably, and they have the same thing. They have a service but it stays in Final Cut, and it's like a little plug-in that just stays there, so you don't have to export XML. But there's a couple of them that do that. I know that Simon Says is one. It might be another one. I'm not sure if Lumberjack, some friends of mine, also have an extension or not for that. I'm not sure. But that's interesting. So how many times when you do a live stream, obviously you record them, right, on the Blackmagic recorders?
The Blackmagic recorders, Atomos recorders. I have two of everything, so I like having backups and redundancy.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what format does the Blackmagic recorders record? H.264?
It'll do H.264. It'll do Apple ProRes. Usually what I like to try to do is I have one of my Atomos Shogun recorder recording Apple ProRes. I'm on the Blackmagic recorder doing H.264. So that, fingers crossed, I have a clean show.
Sure.
And if I start it and stop it at the right times, I can take that H.264 MP4 file and upload that, and that's the client's archive, and it's done. Then I have the Apple ProRes version where if I do need to go back and I do need to do some editing, I can import that into Final Cut, do my trimming, fix stuff, whatever, and then from there export an MP4. So I always do at least 2, if not 3 recordings when I'm doing a live stream.
So the question I have is how many of your live streams do you end up doing editing on?
It depends. I usually do a little bit, whether that's an hour or 2. If it's a clean show, it's clean. But I try to take out, if I can, ums and ahs, long pauses, mistakes. It always happens. They're using a PowerPoint clicker and they hit the back button, not the forward button.
Right.
Or, how do you use this thing? And I take all that out. Take out any long pauses like that.
Sure.
So I try to tighten it up. We did a live stream yesterday. It was a pretty clean show. It was an hour and 10 minutes. I was able to cut out 5 minutes of ums and ahs, and long pauses. And, you're waiting 10 seconds for someone to walk out on stage.
Sure.
Or all that, 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here, a half a second here.
Oh, yeah.
It adds up. And if you can cut out 5 or 10 minutes, that's a big deal. I'll take 10 minutes back.
Absolutely.
Any day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got a comment here from Dave Berman. How are we coaching video conference attendees to ensure we can gather the best quality files for editing? So
I guess it depends what kind of footage that is. Right now I feel like what's happening a lot is, and I'm seeing this and I'm sure other people are too, clients are sending me, they're either sending me video clips they're having people use their phones and shoot an interview, shoot something and send it to them, or they're asking me to conduct a remote Zoom interview.
Okay.
I assume that's what he means, since really there are no attendees.
Right.
So what I did was I made a very short 3-4 minute video where I gave tips to people using their own laptops to do a Zoom recording or a Skype or do something. Because I was giving everyone the same message every time. Find a quiet room, lift the camera up so it's eye level, use earbuds, use a mic, use lights. I was doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
And we talked about
exactly
wanting to save 5 minutes of your time. I made a very short 2-3 minute video giving the top 6 or 7 tips about what you can do. And I send that video to everyone now.
And
not
please,
only to my clients, but I know other videographers are sharing it with their clients, and it's getting some traction on YouTube. So later I'll try to post that in the comments. But just giving them those tips ahead of time so that, again, you want the camera to be eye level. You want clean sound. You want the lighting. Find a quiet room. All those sorts of things so that you get the best quality videos back.
Please tell them to film horizontally, landscape, not vertically, and don't go in front of a darn window, a light window.
I see it all the time. And I'm not ignoring you, but I'm gonna find that video and post it in the chat.
Sure, absolutely. So Dave Berman says, yes, that's exactly my workflow. And Simon Villani says, any news about 10.5? No, there's not any news about Final Cut Pro 10.5, not yet. But I just have a feeling we're going to be hearing something, hopefully this week, later today or tomorrow, because Final Cut can update at any time. If they want to update around an event, WWDC, but they don't need to. I mean, look at Logic Pro. Tuesday morning, it was just announced on it was a press release.
And when the new MacBook laptops came out last week, the Air, I forget what the Air or whatever it was, they did just a press release.
Yeah, 13-inch
on any given day.
There was a 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Yep.
It wasn't even just a MacBook; it was actually a 13-inch MacBook Pro. So that was pretty darn amazing.
Any given day, just press release, just put it out there.
Because Apple has, they have billions of units out there, phones and iPads and computers. And I mean, literally billions of them. So their customer base is just it's just so extensive. I'll be curious. Did you ever watch any of the WWDC keynote when they had it every year? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll be curious what's going on with that. I was expecting, if we didn't get Final Cut Pro 10.5 before then, I was expecting at least some kind of a mention, because WWDC is not really a pro apps conference. It's for developers specifically, but not necessarily pro apps. Although they did mention, last year when the Mac Pro was introduced, they did mention Logic Pro then, and I think Final Cut as well. So I was expecting then, but since Logic 10.5 came out yesterday, I'm thinking hopefully tomorrow, Thursday is a fine day for Final Cut Pro 10.5. And I have no idea what they've been working on. Metal 2, I know that. That's like a performance boost. But I don't know. Look, they've been doing something for the last 29 months. We're paying that team. We're paying them to do Final Cut. So they got something going on there. We just don't know what it is. And since everybody's off, this is a perfect time to release Final Cut Pro 10.5 into the wild, to get it in people's hands, let them run through the bugs over the summer and make suggestions and stuff. And you'll have a great an app. Not that it's not already great, because it absolutely is. The Final Cut Pro team, we get to meet some of them at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit every year. Don't know what's going to happen with that this year. I think they're still planning on it at this point. It would be November. Maybe by then things will be calmed down. But it is Cupertino, and it is in a hotel. It is a smaller group of people, though. It's only 100 to 150 people typically, plus the help.
I don't know. I feel like that may not happen this year.
It might not.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see crowds like that until next year. back to the live streaming really quick. I'm getting calls from clients about planning events, live streaming virtual events for February, next July.
Is that
People
right?
are really, yeah. I talked with a client a week ago about in July of next year, not this year, 2021, they're having a big event, and they want to make sure that they never have before, but they want to make sure that they have live streaming as a big element of their conference.
That is amazing. That's like a wedding, scheduling that far out ahead. But I can understand that because they might have got burned, with the recent cancellation of virtually everything.
Yeah.
Here's my concern. Is this going to be the new normal when we have a virus like this that comes around? This isn't the first time we've had a coronavirus, and the world didn't completely cancel. And I understand it's serious, but we've had multiple times. They said Woodstock in 1969 was a pandemic. 100,000 people died, but it didn't stop. The world didn't shut down. And look at Woodstock. Woodstock is the worst place. It's like the perfect Petri dish for something like that, and it didn't do anything. So hopefully we don't shut the world down every time we get this happens. If it happens, hopefully we learn how to take care of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you didn't have any special features in 10.5. Boy, I bet you the audience has a few. Let's see.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else in the comments?
Not yet. We will. So do you, when you're doing the live streams now, obviously social distancing, you're keeping 6 feet away from everybody. Are people wearing masks? Not on camera, but I mean, obviously, but.
Yeah, so for the crew, we try to. It depends. Like if we're near-ish other people, absolutely. But if we're by ourselves and no one is near us, no. Or if maybe like if I'm the director and I need to be on intercom.
Sure.
Yeah, then I'll take my mask off because you need to be able to hear me. We're always trying to be safe. We're doing a lot of these jobs at hospitals. So, there's hand sanitizers right outside of the door.
Right.
So we're always cleaning our hands, wearing the mask, and then trying to stay, 6 feet apart from each other.
So Tony says audio mixer. That's what he wants to see.
Oh, yeah, better audio mixer in Final Cut 10?
Yeah. I would be surprised if we don't see an audio mixer at this point. I mean, 9 years in, it's just, the thing that I always bring up with people when they say, well, we have roles. Why do we need an audio mixer? I said, you don't even have a master volume control.
Yeah.
You don't even have something as basic as a master volume control. So an audio mixer, a roles-based mixer, you don't want to get rid of the roles, but a roles-based mixer. Tony says he liked a mixer in Final Cut Pro 7. I remember it had a mix. People forget that it had a mixer.
Yeah.
Basic mixer. You could record keyframes too in Final Cut Pro 7. You could run the audio and just live mix it with the faders, and it would actually record keyframes. I think 3 different levels. Barely any, mid-level, and a lot of keyframes. It would record a lot of them.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used Final Cut for like a year before 10 came out, so I was just getting good with it, and then everything changed.
So Tyler says, one thing I'd struggle with is color correction in Final Cut Pro. I tend to do it a bit better with Premiere Pro for that. Do you do much color correction, Marty?
So on my Canon C200, I shoot in wide dynamic range. So I have like a preset that I apply. I know I've done enough. I know how to, color that well.
Sure.
I have a Canon EOS R for my second camera that I can get them matching pretty well.
Right.
I just got very recently a Blackmagic Pocket Camera 6K, which is a different animal. So for that one, I tried doing some playing in Final Cut to do the coloring. I got it pretty close. I think for spending a half an hour, I got it pretty close, but I don't think it's exactly there yet. So I use it for basic stuff, but for what I'm doing, I'm not doing a ton of coloring.
So we got a comment from Michael who says Final Cut Pro 10.5 on June 21st. Maybe that's the birthday. The reason I don't think so, I think we'll see it before that, because they've never done anything on the birthday of Final Cut all these years. So this year could, listen, let me tell you, I've been hit or miss with predicting what Apple can do, as could be expected because they do what the heck they want to do. I thought we'd see Final Cut Pro an update last year at the Summit because they've done it the last 2 years before that, but they didn't have no update for us at the Summit last year. So
I like Tony's suggestion of adopting NDI out of Final Cut. That would be great. I know they have that for Premiere. Premiere and After Effects have NDI so that you can get your timeline. Again, we're talking about live streaming and using vMix, Wirecast, OBS, myself on the TriCaster, where you can get your timeline right into those software platforms.
Really?
Yeah, I agree. Tony, that is a great idea. I think that'd be great to have NDI capability to get your timeline directly into your live switcher, so that maybe you're doing an edit and it's getting down to the last minute and you don't have time to export it, import it. You can just play from the timeline. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, see, to me, I don't trust those timelines. If you said like you had to.
In a pinch.
In a pinch, yes.
If
in a
it's
pinch.
timeline or you're not going to make slot, then yeah.
Well, that's true. So I taught the Wolf Blitzer's group of editors years ago with Final Cut Pro 7 down in Washington. They couldn't be taught during the week, so they came in on a Saturday and a Sunday. And they told me, they said when they get there, this was back then, they hit the ground running. When they get there in the morning, right till the end of the day. And sometimes they would play the Final Cut Pro 7 timeline out live. And I'm like, wow, that's a little scary for me.
Yeah,
But
I know. At the TV station, same kind of thing. They we don't want to do it. I think when we were back with the day in tape, you'd have to take your tape, run it up to the control room. But in a pinch, you could queue it up from your edit bay. But that was always like, worst case scenario. But you'd rather do that than missing slot.
So is NDI always wireless, or can it be wired?
No, it can be wired. Yeah.
Okay.
You always want to, just like with doing everything else, you want to try to be wired and not do Wi-Fi. But yeah, you can do wired or Wi-Fi. Okay,
so I didn't know that. I'm thinking NDI is just because I always used it wirelessly, so that's interesting. So would it be wired like USB or Ethernet or
no?
how?
Your network. It's over the network. So it's using your Cat5, Cat6 cable.
So Ethernet cables.
Being on the same network, and once your device is broadcasting its NDI signal, anything else in the network can bring it in. Right.
So you also, one of the other things that I always find fascinating when I talk to you, you're also a cameraman in the helicopter for the news station.
Yes, I work part-time for one of the TV stations in Baltimore. So with that, I shoot video, I edit video, doing regular news operations. And then I'm one of 3 or 4 of our photographers that gets the chance to fly in the helicopter, for news. So, that could be every few months, once a year. It just depends on sketches and vacations, whatever. I've done it more so recently now than in the past, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to get to, fly over, and what would take you 2 hours to drive somewhere, you get there in 30 minutes. You go into all the big stories, and that's really fun. It's really cool. It's a cool assignment.
Do you use drones at all, either in your business
Our station does not. No, our station does not use drones.
What about, you don't use it for, I guess, any of your live streaming or any video production?
No, I haven't used it for any live streaming. And, for video jobs, if a client says they want a drone, I have some other colleagues that are FAA licensed, that have the insurance and all that stuff.
Right.
That's something that I want to put my time and energy and money into other things that I can use on a more regular basis.
Right.
And for something that's specialized, I'll outsource that. It's also,
I have one drone. I have a 4K. It's actually it's not a quadcopter. No, it's got 5 blades to it. So you could lose one of the engines and it would still fly. Let me tell you something. Those things are so sketchy because I broke mine when I first got it. I broke it like 3 separate times, just launching it and trying to land it and stuff. Before I said I got to be more cautious. Blades, arms, all kinds of odd things. So I use it, but I wouldn't use it commercially. It's just they're too precarious, And if you lose control, they can crash, and they weigh a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't do anything commercially with it. I just do it for myself and do it over my own private property. I'll take it up and do a 360 every once in a while if the sky is interesting.
Yeah, I've put my money into things I know I can use on a more regular basis, for live streaming or for video production. Drones. I very rarely do have a client ask me about drones. It wouldn't pay for itself.
Yes, exactly. So that I don't need one of those A10 Mini Pros, but they're so impressive. But when I saw the Blackmagic demo of it, that it's I don't have that. I have two HDMI cameras, the GH4, GH5 that I could use. But normally, most stuff that I'm doing live streaming in my video production is just one or two cameras typically. Sometimes
I have the
three.
I have the Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro. I have the Blackmagic TV Studio. I have the TriCaster 40 and the TriCaster TC1. I use Wirecast. I have some Teradek encoders. I have a lot of other Blackmagic items because in my case, I never know what I'm going to need. Double bookings, a really large job, and then backups. What if something crashes?
Sure.
I need a backup. Maybe It won't be to that same full extent of where I was, but the show must go on. I got to do something. So
yes,
definitely have my fair share of gear.
Yes. And we were talking when we did the last interview with the podcast that the frequencies are changing on wireless microphones and stuff. So you're already prepared for that? You said July they're changing or something?
Yeah, I actually just sold a bunch of stuff on eBay very recently. A while ago I sold my old Electrosonics microphone. I just sold the other one, actually, again, just last week on eBay. And I had a Sony one that, again, I just sold on eBay last week. So been busy on eBay selling the A10 Mini, the wireless mics, some other odds and ends, and then just reinvesting that money into other gear that I need.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we've talked about, audio is so important, and both of us use wireless labs and wireless. I use a wireless handheld a lot. If I'm interviewing somebody on camera, I'll have a wireless microphone that I'll go back and forth with, like you see all the time. It works out very well. So let me see. Tyler Sheff, Marty does his amazing job with live streaming and video production. Great stuff. This was awesome to watch. Thanks, guys. Do you know Tyler?
I do know Tyler. Yeah. So
okay.
Tyler works at the hospital that I mentioned, GBMC Healthcare System. So yeah, Tyler is great to work with. And thanks for that comment, Tyler. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So you do a lot of work with GBMC. They're one of the biggest hospitals in the Baltimore area.
Yeah, they're a great hospital to work with. They're a great hospital. They're a great hospital to work with, and I've been very fortunate that they've been keeping me pretty busy during this COVID-19, doing a ton of Facebook Live streaming, doing some internal town hall meetings using WebEx, as well as some other videos.
So WebEx is like a Zoom kind of a thing. I don't even know what that is.
Same thing. Yeah, pretty much identical, using the same features that Zoom has, just WebEx. The hospital already had a WebEx account. All the employees already had it. So for doing an internal town hall meeting, that was a natural fit because everyone used it. Everyone knew what to do.
Okay. What haven't we covered that you want to cover?
I think we covered a lot. Unfortunately, I have to go soon. Speaking of live streaming, I have to go do a site survey at a local school for an upcoming graduation. So I have to head over there and do a site survey, which I always try to do before any live stream. Looking at the lay of the land, the internet, cable runs, and all that kind of stuff. So that's next on my agenda today.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I sure appreciate you coming on. We're in touch on Facebook and email and stuff all the time, and I just happened to see that Blackmagic article pop up. And I said, "Wow, that's pretty darn impressive."
Yeah, I got really lucky with Blackmagic picking me up. Teradek, that makes a lot of live streaming encoders. They also saw what I was doing, and they should be putting something out soon. So very fortunate that during this time that what we're doing is being noticed.
So does Teradek and the Blackmagic, they encode hardware in the hardware, right? H.264?
So the new A10 Mini Pro is Blackmagic's only device that I'm aware of that does the encoding, that does the actual live streaming encoding.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, where Teradek, they make a couple different products, but most of them are live streaming encoders. whether that's a device that can stream directly to Facebook or YouTube, that can bond signals and take multiple signals and bond them together.
Okay.
Do a live stream, or a point-to-point wireless transmission. So if you're doing an event and you need a wireless camera roaming around, you get one of their products to do that. That's what the bulk of their products are, is either wireless point-to-point or live streaming encoding. So you really need a Blackmagic switcher and a Teradek encoder to do a production.
Gotcha. Marty, I sure appreciate you coming on. I'll be talking to you offline as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you in the neighborhood.
And anybody who wants to contact you can do that how?
Yeah, so my website is focalpp.com. Email is focalpp.com. Marty at focalpp.com. And then on Facebook at Focal Point Productions.
Very good. Thank you very much, Marty.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
See you soon.